Good evening, Southeast Texas. Hope you're doing well. We're going to take an in-depth look at your 7-day forecast across Southeast Texas. One question we've gotten from our text line is, what is a trough of low pressure? We'll explain that in just a second. But taking a look at our Skycam time lapse this afternoon, I find it very interesting. Look how the cumulus developed into towers, and then those became cumulonimbus in the form of thunder showers. But the reason that's happening is that we've got moisture not just at the surface where you and I live, but at 5,000 and 7,000 feet, and that is sufficient to create, with daytime heating and cooler temperatures aloft, instability, and you get these thunder showers. Everything's been working from east to west across our area because the high is off towards our north. You'll see that on our forecast graphic in just a second. Yeah, just leftover tops of cumulonimbus clouds out there right now, 88 degrees in downtown Beaumont. So in your weather headlines, looks like a pretty solid chance of showers and thunderstorms, maybe thunder showers coming up tomorrow. I don't think we'll see severe weather, and I don't expect widespread heavy rainfall. Some areas could see some locally heavy rainfall, but it's because of a trough of low pressure moving through the northwest Gulf and also a surge of moisture. That moves off towards our west, and we will see on Thursday, Friday, and probably Saturday a little drier air mixing into our areas. High pressure rebuilds, weak high pressure rebuilds over the areas. So it looks like hotter, drier for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Then we'll see another surge of Gulf moisture return Sunday and Monday of next week. Now, that may be enough to give us about normal rain chances, about a 30 to 40% coverage coming up on Sunday and Monday. In your allergy report, no tree pollen, moderate levels of weed pollen and mold showing up today, and grass pollen is at moderate levels. Otherwise, here's what we're dealing with now on the Pro-Roofing Concepts satellite and radar loop. We're pretty much done here in the triangle this evening. Now, prior to sunrise, because there's so much of moisture out in the Gulf and a disturbance, we'll keep a 20% coverage for the triangle overnight. But I think we're done this evening. And we're also watching this activity over towards Opelousas and Kinder and back over towards Oakdale. It looks to me that this is going more northwest rather than westbound, but 20 to 30% coverage here the next few hours over towards Newton County and Jasper County, should some of this try to work on off towards the west. Otherwise, it looks like we're pretty much done this evening across Southeast Texas. As you can see, we're done here in the triangle. So prior to sunrise, we may see nocturnal showers along the coastline work on off towards the north. Lots of moisture in the atmosphere, and they get an early start. That's not unexpected. That thunder shower we were showing earlier has dissipated in Buna, and again, activity moving past Zavala and off towards Diboll and off towards the north and west. A few thunder showers over towards Spurger and maybe Danby, but again, this is light stuff, no big deal over towards Burkeville. Otherwise, taking a broader look in that, you can see, look at the twist over in the Gulf. I'll show you that in just a second, but again, activity working from west or from east to west across our area because high pressure is off towards our northwest. Okay, it's over towards the northeast. You heard about all the big cities possibly seeing record high temperatures and triple-digit heat indices up that way. That's because we're on the bottom side of this high, and that is creating an east to southeast flow over our area. And on the edge of that high, you're seeing moisture flow around the high, and that is monsoonal moisture returning to the deserts of the southwest as it is continuing to show the edge of the high. So basically, the edge of the high is something like this. You can see it right like that. So all that off towards the north and east is higher pressure. We're seeing easterly winds here at the base of the high, and then over towards the western flank of it, the flow is like that around the high. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Otherwise, in the northwest Gulf, we are watching a little bit of twist. This is in the upper atmosphere. You can see it right there. So this tropical surge of moisture will head on in as we work on in through the day tomorrow. I'm not expecting any development, but what I am expecting is the shower and thunder shower activity that's dissipating now. The moisture is really going to surge in and work off towards the west tomorrow. So we're going to go with a pretty good coverage, 50, maybe 60% coverage across our area as this trough of low pressure moves through. And that trough is basically, if you think of a low and stretch it out, that's what a trough of low pressure is. And that's what is going to be moving off towards the west and northwest coming up tomorrow, making it to the coast coming up tomorrow, Tuesday. So that'll pull the moisture on in. So as we take a look at Futurecast, it shows pretty quiet weather tonight. Now again, we'll be watching for some redevelopment as we head towards the morning hours as far as our rain chances along the coastline. 10 to 20% coverage. And let's see if anybody texted us. Let's see if you have any questions how the tropics look. Well, we will get to that in just a second. In fact, we'll talk about that in just a second. So again, some coastal showers as we head towards tomorrow morning, nocturnal showers. Small chance, 10 to 20% coverage as we head towards daybreak. Then as we go into the late morning, early afternoon hours, we ought to see temperatures rise into the upper 80s and lower 90s, and that is the convective temperature, the temperature at which convection starts. And we ought to see a 50, maybe 60% coverage during the afternoon hours across southeast Texas. And it again is because the high is off towards our north and east. We're at the base of this ridge, and you could see this inverted trough or disturbance. Just showed you that on radar. And as you can see, the flow around the high is like that. And that's what's coaxing up all that moisture out of the Pacific into the desert southwest. Now this trough will move on into the coast coming up tomorrow, and that will bring in moisture that is over here. With more moisture to deal with, we ought to have a better chance of rain coming up tomorrow, about a 50 to 60% coverage. Look at all the green. We track moisture. This is not rainfall. This is moisture in the mid-atmosphere. You need a moist atmosphere to be able to produce shower and thunderstorm activity. So that's why I'm showing all this. That is why we think there's going to be a better chance of rain and thunderstorms tomorrow, and to a lesser chance coming up as we work on to Wednesday. Then look what happens as we head towards Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Where'd all the green go? It's hard to make rain and shower and thunderstorm activity when you don't have sufficient moisture in the atmosphere and high pressure builds over the area. This is a weak area of high pressure for Friday. So rain chances will go DOWN, 10 to 20% coverage. Not a big deal, but after high temperatures, we'll go back into the lower 90s, at least here in the triangle. This is not a strong high. Then that high weakens again, and we'll see another surge of moisture moving off the Gulf as we work on into Sunday and again on Monday. So rain chances will go back up to near normal rain chances, about a 30 to 40% coverage. And that's what we're kind of looking at over the next 7 days. Well, in the tropics, things are quiet, except the Hurricane Center is watching this disturbance. It's outbound, has a moderate chance of development. We're not concerned since it's outbound. Gulf of Mexico, quiet. Caribbean, quiet. So taking a look at ensemble modeling for the next 14 days, I see nothing, but we'll go with 7 to 10 days with nothing expected off the southeast coast, nothing expected in the Gulf or the Western Caribbean through the next 7 to 10 days. And that's where most of the activity this time of year develops. So I think we're in pretty good shape. But look at all the Saharan dust. Another surge of that. We'll be heading in to the Gulf as we head towards Thursday. The main development zone off towards the Caribbean, lots of dust. And what that is telling us is that the air is dry in the mid-levels. Remember, we track all that moisture. I just showed you a map with all that green. This will be very dry. Thunderstorms have a hard time developing in that, and without the thunderstorm activity, nothing can develop and organize. So it looks like very quiet weather in the tropics, knock on wood, right? At least through the next 7 to 10 days. So the tropics are looking quiet. Otherwise, on the Gulf tomorrow, looking at slightly choppy seas around 2 feet in your coastal marine forecast. We'll see easterly winds because of that disturbance moving through along the Texas coast. Around 10 knots. Water temperature very warm, 91 degrees. High tides is being passed at 4:39 a.m. and 12:38 p.m. So we'll keep this 20% coverage here in the triangle, even though we have nothing on radar. That's because we may see redevelopment towards daybreak. And because of what we saw on radar off towards our east, I'm reluctant to pull rain chances out of the forecast, especially for, say, Newton and also Jasper County. So 20 to 30% coverage at least through the evening hours. Lows in the mid to upper 70s. Tomorrow, 50 to 60% coverage of showers, maybe a few thunderstorms. Again, widespread heavy rainfall is not expected. Some localized areas could see some pretty heavy rainfall at times, as the atmosphere has a lot of moisture in it, and that could produce quite a bit of rainfall. Otherwise, about a 50 to 60% coverage, and we should see partly sunny skies. Before all the shower and thunderstorm activity that we expect tomorrow arrives, we should see high temperatures in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. And then once those showers and thunderstorms materialize, then you could be cooled into the 70s and 80s because of the rain cooling effect. Very light east to southeast winds are expected tomorrow, so these are not going to be fast moving thunder showers across the area. So our forecast for the heat index tomorrow, I think we could see mid 90s as far as the heat index, maybe the upper 90s. But again, notice how you get those showers and thunderstorms, and that knocks your heat index into the 80s, down and well into the 80s. So that's Mother Nature's air conditioning at work for tomorrow. So tomorrow here in the triangle, we'll go with a 60% coverage, high temperatures in the upper 80s with light east to southeast winds. And again, yeah, I like this. This is modeling right here. This is model data. This is all model data. What you saw at first was my forecast. And I agree with it. Upper 80s could be knocked down into the low to mid 80s. And look at that, 50 to 60% coverage. I like that. For the lakes area, we'll go with a 50% coverage at a high near 90 degrees. See what the model shows. And it only shows a it's back up to a 40% coverage. We'll go with a 50% coverage. So modeling kind of agrees, we're kind of in agreement. High temperatures a little cool for my taste. We'll go about 90 up in the lakes area. So taking a look at the weather impact 7-day forecast, we're going with a 60% coverage of showers and storms here in the triangle. High temperatures in the upper 80s, and then rain chances start taking a nosedive as we head towards Wednesday. We'll still see a respectable 40% coverage of scattered showers and thunderstorms across the area as weak high pressure begins to move on in. And then, as I said, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the atmosphere dries at around 10,000 feet as weak high pressure rebuilds across southeast Texas, and that makes it a little more difficult to produce showers and thunderstorms. So we'll go just with a 10 to 20% coverage. That'll force high temperatures back up into the lower 90s here in the triangle. Could be low to mid 90s up in the lakes area under partly cloudy skies. And then Sunday into Monday, we get that surge of moisture coming back in off the Gulf. At least that's the way it looks right now. Hopefully it doesn't change as far as modeling. So we'll go with the low chance at about a 30 to 40% coverage coming up Sunday and next Monday. And that's the basics as far as your forecast. Let me quickly go through a couple things. Once again, if you're just joining us, we try to give you an updated in-depth forecast. And as you can see, radar not showing much over the triangle, but again, we're going to keep a 20% coverage towards the coast. There you go. See that right there? That's the reason we're going to keep that 20% coverage along the coastline for nocturnal development. So about a 30% coverage up towards at least Jasper and Newton counties, as some of this may try to sneak in from the east. Otherwise, pretty quiet here in the triangle. We don't expect anything this evening. Same thing inland and also up towards the lakes area. A little thunder shower now developing, heading towards Dam Beat. Nothing severe there. Otherwise,